How come most startups fail, even when we have more tactics and strategies than ever before? Join the bedside chat of an entrepreneurial couple as they share what it takes to create a business with ease and in flow.
Hey everybody, here's Natasha
And yeah, Jiri. Trying to be fast.
and welcome to the 11th episode of the Biz in Flow bedside chat. Here with us. I'm tired. It's one of those days where at the end of your day, your eyeballs feel, I don't know if they hurt or my eyes are dry, but my eyes are feeling it, and that's when I know I'm tired.
They want to pop out of your skull and run away to vacation.
Pretty much. I even said that to a boss of mine once. I just told her all these Excel spreadsheets, they're not making my eyes happy, and I honestly feel that one day they're just gonna jump out of my eyes, turn around, stare back at me, and tell me that they're gonna quit. I said that to my boss, to my manager, and she just with a really straight face, she told me, you know what, Natasha, I know how you feel, and I've been doing this for a long time too, but that's never happened to me, so I think you're okay. And I'm like, oh, thank you. All right, I guess I'll be okay. And I just walked away a bit more reassured.
That's a funny story. Anyways, let's cut to the chase. What are your reflections on today? Anything of significance that you learned or solved, or I don't know?
Well, we talked about splitting our work today. Because we're focusing a lot on giving you all content. And I think it's wonderful because some of you learn, from listening, and that's why the podcast is here. Some of you really like writing, so maybe, that then our articles really work for you. It's a whole mix of things, and I really, really respect that there are different channels that we can reach out to you. But at the same time, sometimes it's not enough to just keep broadcasting and just saying what we believe, right? And what we know to work. It's another level of engagement and care and dedication to actually be in a community and to give without expecting anything in return. So we talked a little bit about, showing up in entrepreneurship communities online, of course, because we're building Business Flow all online, but just showing up on the different channels, supporting, cheering you on, giving you, our insights, or just reflecting on things with you, or things like that. Actually being social versus just being a one-way broadcast, because that doesn't always work, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I like that. When we engage, it's also we're closer to the pulse of how you see the world and what's on your mind, and we can create more relevant and timely articles and material that are going to be interesting to you and where you are at in your journey.
And so we're realizing more and more just how human this business that we're creating really is. So I know I mentioned many times that we don't want to create a crazy ROI monster, right? Just a money spitting monster. We want to create something that brings a lot of good, is very human, is very aligned to us. But we're realizing very deeply what that actually means now.
What does it mean?
Well, we can focus on the bottom line, but that's not the end-all be-all, right? So there are going to be things that we do. We're going to reach out people one-on-one at the very beginning, asking them, for example, on Instagram, I really enjoy what you're putting out there. I really like this concept you're having. What's inspired you to do that? And what's your business about? When you're at that point where you're really happy, right, or you find yourself to be at that success point, whatever that is, how would your business or your work change the world? What impact do you want to create? And I want to engage in these conversations to actually find out what are people creating it's really amazing, because when we support you, it's not just supporting you at this stage of your life. We're helping you to build something wonderful. And so to engage in one-on-one conversations, maybe for some people they're like, oh, I may as well just put the money into ads and just, let something like that generate lots of leads. But I really believe in one-on-one writing and contact and conversations and being human, and not just seeing every person I meet and everyone who comes across my content as like a lead and someone I need to convert, and like just with money signs in my eyes. Like, that's not really how I want to engage with people. I really want to engage on a deeper level of what are you trying to create and how is it going for you, and how do you think the world will change with what you want to give. I want to come from that place and see if I genuinely want to help this person, and even if I can or cannot, right? And the same thing with showing up in a community. Like, you want to share a little bit of what we plan to do, or what you plan to do in the coming days?
Well, I'm not very equipped with it because I haven't done it yet, but basically just engage more in posts that are relevant to us and share value on, give our perspective on different topics, whatever they might be, of course relevant to our business, and just create things of value for the people who are reading it, rather, and with no really kind of intention of selling those people or whatever, but more just coming from a place of care and giving and being of service and giving value.
This kind of makes me think of what do you call those people who on like a weekend stand with their brochures and they're trying to, I think what they're trying to do is convert you like to their church, and they're trying to spread their religion. What are those people called?
No idea.
Okay, but anyway, sometimes in Switzerland, in Zurich, you see them. It's just like 3 to 5 people standing with a bunch of posters. And I'm really impartial to this because both of us were not religious, but it's just something that people do here. They try to spread these pamphlets and brochures and things like that. So for me, I have a sense that if I'm passing by, like, they have a very, very strong intention of why they're spending that whole afternoon, like, in an organized way with the organized posters and pamphlets. Like, I think there's a very clear reason why they're doing that. And I almost feel like, well, I don't want to talk to them or get close to them or even get a pamphlet because I don't have an intention of, like, joining their religion or like going to church with them, right? So in a sense, it's like we're planning to just show up in the community. When it's right, we're going to contribute from a genuine place and give as much value as we can, but there's no judgment on our side of whether they actually do what we mention or if they truly appreciate our insights or what we're sharing, we're commenting. Like, there's no clear ROI on this. It's just being us. It's almost like showing up at a party. And this has happened to us, right? We've met clients in like the weirdest situations where we weren't there to network, to build, to find a lead and to convert someone. Like, we just came across someone who we got along with, cared about what it was that they needed. And then somehow the conversation just ended up to that trust and that genuine place of giving value and them seeing, oh, there is an opportunity to work together here, and it goes from there. But it's not a forced kind of like, I don't know, way of showing up where you're actually almost seeing them as like victims you gotta convert and, make them do certain things.
Yeah, it's a bit paradoxical that when you let go of your ambitions and goals in a way, especially when you're in a conversation with a person, then actually the likelihood of this person or becoming a client, whatever, actually increases, because if we are going in with a hidden intent, the person is going to pick up on it.
Oh, that is so true. And it's really funny because, depending on the type of business that you have, we know that feeling of the salesman approaching you or trying to sell something to you when you don't need it. And that's the thing. There is an absolute art to selling, and maybe today we can talk a little bit more about that, because many of us are used to this type of hard selling, buying things that we don't need, not establishing trust or enough trust or connection, and then
emotional blackmail.
Yeah, and feeling forced like we should. I don't know why, but we just should, right? From the sales tactics. And I really don't want to do any of those things here. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why we give so openly so much content. So anyways, there are two things I really want to share with you guys today. One is at the very beginning when I was I'm still doing Feminine Space, but my first business, when I first started, I was like, oh my goodness, creating an online business, that means I have to do so much content marketing. I gotta do a podcast and that and this. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm totally gonna run dry at some point. And it made me feel so self-conscious because I didn't know if I had that much in me. Like, I had enough to share or to teach. But the funny part is, like, this podcast is every day. And we stopped the podcast at a time because, your time is valuable and we don't want it to be too long. We actually could go on forever, but we also need to sleep. So we don't ever run out of content. Like, if you know your stuff, you're not going to run out of content. So that's also one of the reasons why we just keep sharing, because what's there to lose, right? Yeah, and also you can hear something several times, and every time you get something different out of it. A old hypnosis teacher of mine, he started releasing DVDs of one of his main trainings, and he thought, then the attendance will go down and all of that of his workshops. But actually, that didn't happen. People purchased the DVDs, and then they happily also sign up for the live training. And I know for myself that I've heard different information over and over again, and suddenly something clicked, and I realized it on a deeper level. So I don't really see why, you need to hold back or something like that, because in the end, it's also with the listener and what they hear that they take with them. It's not just about the content that they absorb. Yeah. Plus, as the entrepreneur or as the business owner, you gotta give, and you can't come from a place of fear of withholding. At least in my opinion, I'm sure. Yeah. If you have a cupcake company, you can't give away all your damn cupcake and be in the negative, because there's a lot of costs involved in making those cupcakes and giving them away and distributing it, right? Like, that's just not realistic. But when we're talking about like wisdom and insights and experiences, it's free to share. It's really free to share. And there is so much abundance. There's so much that, like, each individual, I'm not just talking about me and Jachym, like each individual, if you've been through something and you really want to give something, you're basing your work around that, then there's a lot there, and there's no need to be afraid or come from a place of scarcity and doubt yourself and to think that you don't have enough to give. Well, but if you reach that point where you're like, oh my gosh, I've exhausted everything, then maybe, pedal back a bit and ask yourself, is then this topic what I really want to focus on and help others with, right? So that's one thing I really want to share about the content and this kind of like free approach, or this very giving, abundant approach. And then the second one is really about sales and how we have both learned through growing our own practices that it's really important. It's so strange. It sounds strange to even say it out loud, but it's really important to actually not care about the money. Yep, that's very true. So what are your experiences of that? Because I've talked a lot and I kind of want to just let you talk now. Well, if I'm obsessed with the money, then again, it's going to go into the conversation. If you're service-based, then it's going to start becoming about the money rather than about the person. And again, the person is going to pick up on that, and you are not going to be coming from a genuine place of care
and benevolence, but you're going to come from a place of wanting and needing, and that is usually the biggest turnoff for people. If you can propose, for example, a high value coaching package of several thousands or 10,000s or whatever of dollars, and you're not attached to the money or whether the client is going to sign up with you, the likelihood of them signing actually up is much, much greater, just because you're not needy.
And plus, you care. The emphasis
Yeah, exactly.
here is that you care about what they want and what you can create together. That's the basis of the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like the transaction, the money is there because we're exchanging energy, we're exchanging something, and we gotta commit to one another, right? Just like the client is also committing a lot to you.
Yeah.
They gotta give a lot in the process to make that change happen, to transform and do the work. So, money makes sense in this case, but I don't know why, but everything that I keep sharing just keeps coming back to what's your intent? Like, why are you doing it? And I want to share something about the online space because I started quite a few years ago. And this is what I saw, you guys. I was taught one of the strategies to actually, get interviewed a lot and let people write about me and hop onto their, podcasts or blogs and things like that. So I did a ton of interviews and a ton of, what do you call them when people write about you in their blog? It's like a blog interview. Things like that. And it was a while ago, but I was just checking up on all these, links because I was going to share them again and just kind of recycle this content. I clicked on a few of them, and I guess there's just one example, but I see this kind of happening as a domino effect. It's not just that one article. It's not that symbolic, but I saw how that website was just gone. It didn't exist anymore. And it was kind of weird for me because when I engaged, these are business owners or online entrepreneurs and they were all for it and everything seemed really legit. But then in this case, like, they must have given up or something must not have worked and their business ended. The whole brand just died. I don't know what kind of death because I wasn't informed and wasn't invited to the funeral. but it's just gone. And also along the way, I've noticed in the last few years is that there was this huge surplus of like Facebook groups and communities and it was going crazy. But I'm just saying this one example, right, of Facebook groups. And then in the last year, honestly, they were just like tumbling down. Like every other day I would get this notification that a group I was a part of was like archived or like it was like closed. It was the strangest thing. So I think that many of us do want to make this happen and we're so excited and we have a vision and whatever, but then so many people give up along the way. And sure, it can have something to do with the money and maybe the money runs out and you can't go on anymore. But I have a feeling that so many people give up because it gets hard and it's really difficult. And I know this for myself, it's really difficult to keep working on this, at the speed and intensity that sometimes the business demands of you when you don't care anymore. Like when your heart's not in there, when you don't have your why. And I just have a feeling that a lot of the things that kind of just died and dropped away in the last few years, I don't think many people could keep up something that just didn't feel right.
Well, and I think as well that in order to keep it up, you gotta enjoy the process. Because if you're only enjoying the end result, you're gonna have a very hard time along the way. The process is something that is going to take its while, and that's what's going to keep you going. If the process is what you hate, man, it's going to be a drag.
Oh, so hard. Of course you would want to give up.
Yeah. What else? I reflected today, or I realized today that what we are kind of building is somewhat a hybrid between the classical entrepreneurship and the more kind of social media influencer game that has come about the last, I don't know,
Personal
5
brand.
years. Personal brand. And that changes the perspective a bit on what you do, because if you look at the kind of traditional entrepreneurial route, you're very focused on the bottom line. You're very focused on finding the niche and making sure that you're solving this problem and that there's a real need for it and all of that. And that makes a lot of sense, and I still think that makes a lot of sense. However, when you look at more the influencer route, what the goal is there is building up a following of people who like your content, who are engaged with what you're doing, and who are interested in what you're doing and providing, and then they buy this kind of stuff, and the courses or whatever you're producing from you because they're engaged and like the other stuff before. And that seems to me is kind of less harsh and needs to be a bit less laser focused as when you're doing the more classical entrepreneurship route. What do you think about that?
It's so cool because it just crossed my mind that being a personal brand and letting the business be an extension of who we are, what we've been through, what we've accomplished, and what we can naturally help others with, it's gonna grow with us. And I'm not sure if you're building a hardcore business, okay, and this is really not technical, right? Like hardcore business, what does that mean? But I hope you get what I'm saying, like a classical brick and mortar, that kind of business. Well, if we have a personal brand, and if it's just an extension of ourselves, then it can grow with us. Whenever we grow beyond something, then most likely our audience are going to grow with us too. So as we shift, we can help our audience shift. So this is kind of like, for example, James Wedmore. He was this huge YouTube professional, YouTube video marketing guy. But in the last few years, he's really pivoted to inner work and to more to the spiritual side of things. And guess what? His following shifted with him. They still focus on business, but that's a part of him now, and he wants to share that, and people were open to that. So I don't know if for example, the company Tide or J&J, they can feel that, today I've transformed to this new self and I can just do that. They don't have that kind of connection or relationship with their consumers. They help them solve product problems and hygienic problems and contact lenses problems and laundry. How on what level is the consumer going to grow with them in that case? There's not much wiggle room, right? Because it's such a specific problem they're solving. But when we're dealing with humans and we're here with a service and it has to do with a personal brand and with business, this is the angle we're taking here with Biz and Flow, it can grow. And I think it's almost as if this is the most human type of business that we can create. Yeah, at the same time, we're leveraging all the good things about business, meaning we're creating a system that helps us to get the reach and give the impact, right?
That's right. Let's wrap it up.
I don't know why you say that. You can just say I'm tired.
I'm tired. Is that better?
Yeah, I think
Why?
You should just be like, all right, I'm getting tired. I don't know what to wrap up, because when you say let's wrap up, I don't usually wrap up.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining in today. You can visit our website, which might or might not be up when you hear this podcast episode, because we are still creating it.
Most absolutely up.
Okay, at bizinflow.com. And you can follow us on Instagram, same handle. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear what you think about what we're doing. And we'll speak or talk to you on the next episode.
Oh yeah, until then, and I'm gonna sleep now.
Good night.
Have a good night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.